As far as coach, you know, it's still early, and he's still, we're still learning about his approach and method to things. But I think I just think he's so refreshing. I love when he talks. I love his interviews. He kind of lets the game go. He's like not rushing to call timeouts. Some people don't like that. I happen to like it. When we're
play through it.
Yeah, when we're a sinking ship, it's not comfortable to watch. But I think he just kind of, I think he's been around these guys and has a faith in them, that they do have this resolve. And again, last night's not the best example of it, but I mean, I was in Milwaukee in the playoffs or just before the playoffs it was in the playoffs when they beat Milwaukee in 7 in who is Bledsoe champ year.
Oh yeah. The Drew Bledsoe stuff.
Yeah. Where's Bledsoe?
That was the best.
Yeah, that was fun. But I think it was game 4 in Milwaukee, and the Celtics were down like 24 and stormed back and took the lead. It was incredible. I mean, those games, those guys didn't have Kyrie. They didn't have Gordon that year, and they never give up. That's why I love this group of guys. They're great guys. B, they never give up. And, I understand Coach, sort of going with things last night. It's just he probably knew they were struggling and said, I got to let them shoot their way out of this. Problem is we really didn't rebound our way out of it. And that's the problem. There was an awful call at the end of the game where, the center, Drummond.
Yeah.
Drummond
got the Celtics.
We were down 8. We got to stop. And Drummond got the offensive rebound, and they called a horrific foul on us. But, in truth, that foul never gets called if we get the rebound and don't let him get the offensive rebound. So it's, it is what it is. That we get that possession, we get down and get a 2 or 3. Now we're down 5 or 6. It's a whole nother game at that point, potentially.
You know what it felt like that game? I was just going to say,
sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that Cleveland game earlier, it just, I was literally standing courtside in the Garden. I kept yelling, go to the hole, because nobody was defending when the Celtics went to the basket, and again, we were shorthanded that night. It's possible the guys were going to the hole a bunch, and I only knew that because I watched them keep going to the hole and score, right? So when they would settle for a 3, I would be like, no, keep going to the hole, but it's easier for me to say. I'm sitting in a chair watching these guys, with like an 8-man rotation, trying to keep going to the hole in the fourth quarter when, they probably were a little tired.
What it felt like watching much of that game with the poor shooting last night, like these are only in playgrounds. We've all played on them growing up or whatever. I'm sure there were plenty in Dorchester. There were by me and Sharon, like these, those awful playgrounds with the double hoops that
double rim's the worst.
Yeah, the double rim. You have no chance of actually getting the ball through it. That's what it felt like last night. Just double rims on both sides. Anywhere the Celtics were shooting was a double rim. But those games, they're so infrequent. Obviously, they don't happen. To this team, they barely happen. So how much, especially on the heels of what happened last year, going to the finals, finishing 2 wins shy, the fact that in the offseason, they improved the roster. Bringing in Brogdon was huge. The emergence of Hauser, especially after the Gallinari injury, Tatum and Brown have taken their games to another level. To your point, we haven't even seen Rob yet. How much I know you're the poster of positivity, but even removing some level of that, how all in are you in terms of this team can win a championship? Tatum can be MVP, X number of, individual accolade, this, that. Like what? I mean, is this team ceiling what we all want to believe it is?
Well, I would say based on what we've seen so far, yes. I try not to be like in the prediction business like that. Adam, we talk a lot Patriots and stuff like that. And I'll make a prediction, but I also just kind of stay open because there's no telling how a season's going to unfold, right? So, it's like, I'm happy the team got to 13-3. I can pinpoint 5 games we could have lost, and I can pinpoint 8 we would have lost last year, right? So You know, I think if all the pieces are in place, this team can beat anybody in a 7-game series. Absolutely. And the biggest threats to this team outside of Milwaukee seem to be off to really terrible starts, and they can bounce back. But, you know, so far, things are lining up very well for this team outside of the injuries. You know, if Rob comes back healthy, if Gallo can play, you know, we got to mesh these guys to the rotation too. You know, when Rob came back in the playoffs last year for the second round, we lost that opening game to Milwaukee, right? Because everyone's out of sync. We just learned how to play without him. Now we got to learn to play with him again. I say we because, you know, it's just, I got the green blood. What do you want me to say? Yeah, but it's like we could have, you know, you got to bring guys back in, and there's a whole adjustment period. You know, I'm not a gambler, but the night when a key player comes back to a team off an injury, don't bet that team. You know, bet the other team.
Yeah,
they're out of sync. You know, they're out of sync. They're not used to playing with that guy, and they're just out of sorts. So there's a lot to figure out. But I think seeing how well Sam shoots, and I was told this, you know. Brad Stevens told me this last year at a game. You know, me and my son Elijah were picking his brain about, like, we got to make a move. We need some shooting. He was like, that's all we need is shooting. But he said, you know, Sam Hauser is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I was like, great. Is he going to play? And I think Wick told me that. Wick Grousbeck said that to me. Steve Paliuka said that to me. Like, they just kept saying, that guy can shoot, man. That guy can shoot. You know, 8 minutes a night for him in the finals could have been a different story, you know, only because that they were defending Jalen and Jason, you know, if that ball swung to a guy who could just hit that automatic three, it's a whole different series, you know. But maybe he can be that this year. You know, he's definitely shown an amazing touch. And, you know, I think if he's playing well, Pritchard's playing well, Gallo comes back and fits in, which I don't know if he's coming back. We'll see. And if Rob, you know, is healthy and all goes well, yeah, this team could beat anyone.